And now for part 3 of our Bonegrinder build. This week I'm going to focus on a couple of details, and the first is going to be putting in the individual stones. So I'm going to draw these in using a number 2 pencil. I sharpen it up pretty good so I can get really good deep edges around the stones as I'm drawing them in. Now, yes, this does take a little bit of time, but I really like the result you get out of this. There are other techniques that you can use. I know Shifting Lands has a roller that you can buy. He has several different ones, but this is probably the cheapest option, though the most time consuming, and it gives you a really good result. All it takes is a number 2 pencil, pop on a movie you like, and kick back and just go at it. Pick a movie that's one you've seen like a billion times, so it's a little mindless and you love it, but it can keep you a little distracted while you're going through and putting these stones in. And make sure you do the ledge underneath this ledge here at the base of level 3 of the tower or the windmill. This kind of detail really stands out, even though a lot of the supports that you're going to be put in place are going to cover that up for the most part. It still looks good, I think. So I went all the way up to the edge of the roof, and since I couldn't get that turn-up shaped roof, I came up with another design idea for this, which I actually like better than the turn-up shape. So for this particular build of Bonegrinder, I'm going to go with an alternative roof. So while I was putting the stonework in place, I noticed there were a lot of places on the model where glue had seeped through, or where when I was using the jig, it didn't cut quite accurately. You know, there was some artifacts that I got in the cut, some gouges in, which can't do too much about that. And then there were others where it came out a little bit. So it's an old structure. It's meant to be an old structure, dilapidated. So it doesn't matter that much. I went back through with my Olfa knife and cleaned up a lot of the seams and add a little bit of character to it. Added a few gouges here and there, you know, the wear and tear of time. And I just spent a little bit of time doing that, and I think it came out all right. So with the cleanup work behind me, I'm really pretty happy with what I have right now. I decided to go ahead and layer it with my Mod Podge solution, which I got from Jeremy over at Black Magic Craft. And I think everybody uses this. I see it on a lot of other channels. And I just put on a really thick coat, making sure that I'm getting into all of those little edgings I did for the mortar. The mortar holes, mortar seams, I guess is what it would be, between the stones. This provides a nice base coat and some protection. The next 2 pieces I want to focus on are this center bracings for level 3 and then the door, which includes the door and the frame. To create the bracings, I used bamboo skewers. And I started out by just cutting them to the proper size and wedging them into place really gently. I didn't press them into the foam to where it made a permanent mark. And I found what worked best is cutting them about to size and then going back with the X-Acto knife and cutting them at an angle. Basically about 30 to 45 degrees on either side. Gave me a really good fit, and you can see just wedging them into place there, so I know how many I need and whether or not they're gonna fit in place. when I'm done. Of course, when I get them done, I'll instead of wedging them into place, I'll glue them into place using some white glue. After I got them all cut, I just laid them out on a piece of wax paper. I really need to clean my mats. Maybe need to get some new ones. And I painted them with an espresso brown. And you can pick any brown you want. I just had a bottle of that laying around. I like the darker color. And you can see there where I cut my hand. I actually cut my hand while I was cutting out these supports. Keep shiny things out of your studio because they're distracting. And when you're playing with sharp things, sometimes you can get cut. Just shiny things go away so that you keep all your fingers. The first layer of paint that I put down, aside from the Mod Podge with the black paint mixed in, was this dark gray. It's typical for me to use a dark gray for most of my stonework color palette. After I got that done, keeping, with the theme of that tannish color from the pictures in the module, I used a tan for the first dry brushing, and then I went back over it again with a lighter dry brushing of a suede. Once I had that done, the supports had dried, so I just glued those into place. It didn't take long at all. Now for the door frame, I'm going to use two different size sticks. One is this 1/4 inch wide skinny stick, and the other is this 1/8 inch wide dowel that I got from Michael's. I pull the door down, and the doors, you can see another video I have where I created that exact door. I'll put a link somewhere on the page for that. And then I fit the frame into place, figure out what my cuts are. I use the skinny stick for the top and the 1/8 inch dowels for the sides. Little bit of super glue, actually the last bit of super glue from that particular batch. Gonna have to go pick up some more. And then once that dried, I went ahead and picked it up, and because that 1/4 inch dowel stuck out a little bit, it gives me the opportunity to cut out a little section there for it where it will fit a little bit better into the model frame there. You see where I'm cut that little gouge out. Once I've got that done, I go ahead and paint it up. I use the same espresso brown that I used for the supports. Once that door frame had dried, I went ahead and put it into place, and then I fit my door in there and noticed that it stuck out just a little bit too much. So I went back and cut shallow cuts down in there in a crosshatch pattern, which is typical technique I use when I'm going to dig out a little bit of foam. Then I use this clay tool here for pulling out some of the foam. And then once I had a little bit of that pulled out to where that door was going to set flush, went ahead and added Mod Podge where I had cut it out to give it a little bit of protection under there. And there we go, there's our door, and it's ready to go in. I haven't glued it yet, so let's go over and get some white glue. Pour some in there, a little bit of a brush to get a nice even coat so the door will stay in place. Maybe a little bit of overkill there. And there we go. We got our door in place. And let's see what we have this week. We have our supports there on level 3. And we have our door down here at the base. And it's coming along. And you see a little bit of gouge I have up there where I kind of a little bit of stone work. Thought that looked pretty cool. Anyway, that's it for this week. Next week we'll continue on. I think maybe a couple more videos on this before we wrap it up. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And until next week, have fun, and keep crafting. Oh, P.S. Subscribe.